The commercialization of innovation benefits society in many ways. However, most would be shocked at the number of innovations that are unable to be commercialized due to the lack of capital available for startup and early-stage companies. Why? Quite simply, most startup and early-stage companies are just too risky to warrant an investment from most investors. There are other problems within the private capital markets industry that, once solved, will create a rush of capitalization and hence the commercialization of innovation. The 6 major problems are as follows. 1. The problems for entrepreneurs. There are only 2 ways to legally raise capital in the United States. 1. Produce a business plan and submit it to financial institutions for capital, or 2. Conduct a securities offering in compliance with U.S. federal and state securities laws, rules, and regulations. For those startup or early-stage companies that produce a business plan and submit it to financial institutions for capital, historically only 1.5% receive it, and 98.5% do not. For the 1.5% who do receive substantial amounts of capital from financial institutions, often sacrifice too much equity ownership and voting control to make the funding worth it. For those who produce securities with a marketable deal structure and sell those securities properly, the success rates are substantially higher depending on the avenue of delivery, i.e., selling directly to investors or to investors through a broker-dealer. Selling directly to investors, success rates are generally in the lower 70% range. Broker-dealer success rates are typically in the upper 90% range. However, the initial expense and time involved to produce a securities offering is cost prohibitive for most startup and early-stage companies until now. 2. The problems for professional service providers for the small business community. Most professional service providers, such as attorneys, accountants, commercial banks, insurance agents, etc., attempt to grow their businesses competing directly with each other, vying for the same existing businesses that can actually afford and/or qualify for the products or services they offer. This battle is a zero-sum game. Since most startup or early-stage companies have little to no revenue or working capital to begin with, these professionals simply cannot afford to waste their time talking to them. 3. The problems for angel and individual investors. In a classic catch-22, the failure rate for startup and early-stage companies at 85% is due to a lack of capital, and that deters investment capital, thereby furthering that failure rate. But even well-capitalized companies can and do fail. Most investors view investments in privately held companies as a gamble and hence simply don't bother. For angel and individual investors that do invest, they often lock up their investment capital indefinitely, or worse, they simply lose it. 4. The problem for venture capital and private equity firms. The basic problem with venture capital and private equity firms seeking quality deal flow is that there are too few qualified portfolio company candidates that meet the typical venture capital firm's risk profile to invest in. There's more venture capital and private equity money currently available than at any other time in world or U.S. history. However, the money is not being invested due to a lack of quality deal flow. 5. The problems for securities and capital markets industry professionals. Most securities and capital markets industry professionals, such as stockbrokers, financial planners, and registered investment advisors, are faced with an ever-increasing punitive regulatory environment and endlessly shrinking margins. These highly qualified individuals are victims of electronic automation and the litigious nature of the consumer market side of the securities industry. They too seek to attract investors away from other like-type professionals with little differentials in their ability to offer products or services. This battle is also a zero-sum game. With well-educated millennials' ability to learn and manage their financial affairs online, this is the most vulnerable of all professions to artificial intelligence applications now and for years to come. 6. The problems for Wall Street investment banks, broker-dealers, and corporate acquisitions. Wall Street and corporate America have an insatiable appetite for what is termed quality deal flow, meaning companies worthy of investment or acquisition. Wall Street investment banks, aka broker-dealers, need quality later-stage companies to take public on stock exchanges. Corporate America, primarily Fortune 500 companies, need to acquire quality later-stage companies to harness outside innovation for continued growth. Commonwealth Capital has created the first ever utility that employs standard corporate engineering protocols to effectively solve the 6 major problem issues within the private capital markets industry simultaneously. By doing so, the utility inherently incubates quality deal flow for everyone. Creating quality deal flow all starts with our 7 layers of automated filtration for startup and early-stage companies. First-level filtration. 1. Our managing directors or managing enterprises selectively invite professional service providers as alliances to our firm. Managing directors or managing enterprises choose only professional service providers that inherently know how to select startup and early-stage companies who they believe would warrant outside capital. Our managing directors and managing enterprises earn a straight 20% of all cash and equity we receive from portfolio companies. Second-level filtration. Our alliances can seamlessly invite startup and early-stage companies to our due diligence survey within our Capital Access portal. This is a private portal and accessible by invitation only. Third-level filtration. Once these startup and early-stage companies submit their due diligence surveys, one of 2 things happen. 1. If they pass our due diligence survey, they are sent directly to our landing page entitled Block and Tackle. This is where we have a welcome video that initiates the process of a first-level phone conference call with our executive director. This is 4th-level filtration. If they pass our first-level phone conference call with our executive director, they are invited for a second final video conference call with the Investment Policy Committee. This is 5th-level filtration. If they pass our second-level video conference call with the Investment Policy Committee, we construct and send them a formal engagement letter and term sheet. This is 6th-level filtration. Upon understanding and acceptance of our proven process by execution of the term sheet, we start the production process. This is 7th-level filtration. When we invest time into a portfolio company, we immediately receive a return on our investment in the form of cash and convertible preferred equity for building marketable deal structures, securities offering documents for legal counsel review, and the required digital systems to define and guide each portfolio company through a securities offering. 2. If they do not pass our due diligence survey, they are sent directly to our Corporate Engineering Conservatory. Here, they can see their diagnostics rating and table informing them of areas within their company that they need to improve upon to pass. They use the Corporate Engineering Conservatory to correct the deficiencies in their model and plan. More importantly, they are also educated on how to structure a securities offering with a marketable deal structure and how to legally conduct a securities offering in the U.S. to raise seed, development, or expansion capital, after which they can continue the process of actually producing a securities offering document for legal counsel review by paying a monthly subscription fee, which is a fraction of the normal cost to do so. This is 4th-level filtration. Once their securities offering documents are completed, 5th-level filtration, they have a choice to continue promoting their company and securities offering inside their portal within the Corporate Engineering Conservatory with the monthly subscription service, but they are on their own. Or stay the course and pay us a due diligence fee plus preferred equity using the document they just created to enter our venture capital fund. This is 6th level filtration. Once we've conducted a thorough due diligence and have cleaned up their deal structure, these companies are added to our venture capital fund, Commonwealth Capital Income Fund 1. This is 7th level filtration. Here, our co-investors, primarily broker-dealers, pick and choose the companies they wish to sell securities for or invest in. Most can appreciate the level of filtration leading to the quality of this deal flow. Therefore, there is no need on your part to filter deal flow, as our due diligence survey within our Capital Access portal filters all deal flow automatically. Hence, our alliances, as well as our managing directors and managing enterprises, can feel free to send all startup and early-stage companies seeking capital through our Capital Access portal. There are many services attempting to match entrepreneurs and investors. Although they have good intentions, these matching services often produce nothing for either side of the equation. The reason being is that on these platforms, entrepreneurs only use business plans and pitch decks to seek significant amounts of capital from one single investor or institution. If selected for investment, the investor sets the terms of the deal. For most startup and early-stage companies, this cost of capital is prohibitive. What separates us from everyone else is we incubate quality deal flow through proper corporate engineering and securities with marketable deal structures born from Wall Street investment banks. Through a securities offering in compliance with federal and states' laws, our portfolio companies do not rely on single sources of capital for investment. With our process, they are able to legally and effectively solicit and sell securities to raise substantial amounts of capital to many investors for smaller amounts. Hence, they actually raise all or most of the capital sought. Commonwealth Capital, LLC, is a hybrid venture capital management company comprised of former Wall Street investment bankers and stockbrokers, as well as current experts in corporate tax and securities governance, fraud prevention, deal structuring and compliance matters related to creating and selling securities, and IT innovators of crowdsourced incubation. We've been capitalizing startup and early-stage companies exclusively since 1998. We invite you to join us in furthering the commercialization of innovation.